You know, the thing that hurts me the most is that I have to watch the NBA Finals and they have world champion on their head. World champion of what? The United States?
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Nicholas Davenport, aka Mr. Mental Muscle. And today we're going to talk about Noah Lyles. His clip has been going viral talking about the NBA. They call themselves world champions. He felt confused by that. And he's saying since he is the now world champion, he doesn't feel that they should be called that. And I think he has some grounds for that. But let's make some arguments and look at this from the mental side of things as we always do. So let's check out that clip and see what he says.
You know, the thing that hurts me the most is that I have to watch the NBA Finals and they have world champion on their head. World champion of what? The United States? Don't get me wrong. I love the U.S. at times, but that ain't the world. That is not the world. We are the world. We have almost every country out here fighting, thriving, putting on their flag to show that they are represented. There ain't no flags in the NBA.
So that's interesting because I'm a little biased. I ran track collegiately. I went to the Great Bethune-Cookman University. Now, me personally, I had a lackluster career. I was a decent long jumper in the state of Florida, went to the state championship out of high school, went to college, got hurt, didn't really live up to the hype. Cool. And it led me down the path that I am right now. I got to work with the world's top performers, athletes, military, and psychological mental coaching through my business Mind Body One. So basically, along the way, I met a lot of top performers. One of my closest friends, he was a top sprinter in the 100 meter. One of my teammates, Ronnie Ash, and another teammate, Eric Craig, both went up to be Olympians and champions in their own respect. So I've seen the best of the best. But he does make a good point, though, because talking about athletics, getting to the sports psychology aspect, we have high athletic identity. And that means we're going to take this way more seriously than, say, an average person would take, say, the everyday job. A person who works at a 9 to 5, clocks in, clocks out for a corporation isn't going to live and die for that. But people who wear these uniforms, put on these jerseys, represent their team, in this case, their country, they will live and die by that because they put in so much work. And Noah Lyles, one of the fastest men on the planet of all time, he definitely has a right to say this. Now, bring up the argument, though, people were saying, well, the NBA has the best players, and by proxy, if the NBA has the best players, therefore, the people who win are the world champion. And I get that argument too. But I think you got to really draw a line in the sand somewhere because, granted, if you go to the Olympic basketball games, the teams that beat the U.S. typically have at least one or two NBA players or former players or soon-to-be players on their roster. So you can argue, well, if they're good enough to play in the NBA at the highest level, but then they go play for their country when they're not in the NBA, you can argue these are the best players in the world. And by proxy, once again, you're world champions. But get to his defense, they're not wearing Team Spain, Team Great Britain, Team Australia when they're on that court. They're representing a team in the NBA. There are 32 teams. So the argument is, okay, we're world champions. And I always wondered that as a kid when I see Super Bowl, the NBA championship, Stanley Cup, whatever it is, they're considered themselves world champion because I guess from a business standpoint, they are the biggest in the world for the most part. Not always, depends on the sport. Soccer by far is way bigger than American soccer. But basically from that standpoint, from the bigger name sports in America, like football, basketball, baseball, they are king. The MLB, the NBA, and the NFL are king throughout the world in those sports. So I guess that's why they call themselves world champions. But if you take away the business aspect of it and just pure talent of different nations, then you can say, okay, Noah Lyles is right. They're representing America and they beat these teams, these other countries as Americans. Therefore, they're the true world champions. But going back to my track background, I like to play devil's advocate sometimes. Now, let's say that the factor is that people don't understand that track and field is specific. I can't speak for other sports. Depending on the countries, it's easier or harder to make that Olympic team. So what I mean by that is, you take a country like, let's say, Japan. Japan has definitely put out 100-meter sprinters over the years that have ran phenomenal times. China has, so I'm going with Asia, I guess, because they're not the typical country you think of when you think of sprinters. Even hurdlers. They had one guy in the early 2000s killing in the hurdles. But the argument could be made is they're few and far between. Now, making the national team for America is almost impossible. Someone who will run a time in America and don't make the U.S. team will probably go to any other country outside of maybe Jamaica or some of the islands and make that team. So if you bring in that argument, maybe Noah Lyles doesn't have a point, because there are certain countries that it's stacked, it's overloaded. America's one of them in the sprints, Jamaica, and there's a few other countries. So it's like, there's going to be teams where the best sprinter, let's give you some context, let's say in the men's 100, the best sprinter runs a 10.22. That's fast. That is blazing fast, but it's not Olympic fast. It's not world champion fast. That time could actually be beat by some current high schoolers. That's how good these kids are getting. So you can make that argument that could adjust for the fact that, like the NBA, only the best people are going to the NBA, but only the best sprinters are distributed over specific countries like the US, the Jamaica, the Trinidad's, Great Britain here every now and then. The current Olympic 100-meter champion is from Italy. You don't hear that name too often, right? So I'm not mad at what he said at all. I get it. And I don't think anyone should be mad. I know NBA players have spoken out. Maybe I'll do a video about that. I don't really know that side of it. Cool. But all in all, I don't think it's a big deal. He made a point, and that's what it's about. And I like bringing these things down as neutrally as possible. And I guess I can see both sides. So that's my take on it. Tell me what you think in the comments below. Thanks for tuning in. And as always, guys, get your mind right.